G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people. Review of the week time. Happy Monday. How are we all doing? So we got a lot to talk about, but before we talk about the news in boxing, let's talk about the fights that happened over the course of the weekend. So obviously Friday night there was a show on the York Hall. Frank Warren put this on. And I remembered briefly that this was happening, but I completely forgotten that it was actually on. I actually seen Jamie tweet about it. I was happy he did because I sat down and watched it. And honestly, I actually enjoyed this card. It was... I don't want to say it was it was a glorified next gen show. Do you remember those ones Eddie Hearn used to put on? But it wasn't terrible. I actually enjoyed it. Now, Ellis Zorro fought Dex Spellman up at cruiserweight, and that was a very interesting fight. If Dex Spellman had more stamina, he would have stopped Ellis Zorro. But as such, he didn't, and he ended up losing a points decision. Absolute war. It was a brilliant fight. Now, this fight right here, Frank Arnold versus Brian Morena. Now, this fight, I'm going to get harsh on the referee. Who was refereeing this fight again? It doesn't say on Box Rec here. But the referee was actually a guy called Chase Cockley. Now, he really should hang his head in shame for his performance in this fight. Because Frank Arnold, he looks a good kid. But he was out of his depth in here. He's only 23 years old. He was out of his depth in here. He was in there with a journey with Brian Morena, but he always comes to fight. And Frank Arnold was hurt in the first round. He had a rough second round. And then he was dropped very heavily. I think it was actually the third round, wasn't it? Yeah, it ended in the fourth. It was the third round. I was thinking that I missed a round there. But no, it ended in the fourth. He was dropped very heavily with a right hand in the third round. And when he was hit with that right hand, his eyes glazed back. And he just stooped into the ropes. Went down into the ropes. The referee should have waved it off there. This is not a world title fight. It's a small hall show with a young prospect who is only 23 years old. Stop the fight, ref. It's not the end of the world. Stop the fight. But he didn't. And Frank Arnold took a beating in that third round. Went back to the corner. Eyes glossy. Mouth bleeding. And I thought the corner would stop it. But they didn't. They didn't stop it. And went out into the fourth round. Started the fourth round not too bad, it had to be said. But then backed up to the ropes and walked into a massive right hand. Absolutely massive, and knocked him out cold. Went down badly face first. And I just sat there thinking, he didn't need that. That was so stupid. It didn't need to happen. Why didn't the referee just wave it off? And had that been Brian Morena knocked down from that right hand, would the referee have waved it off? I think he probably would have. And I was just thinking, the poor kid is getting oxygen now. They tried to get a stretcher in, but he wanted to walk out on his own steam, but he still had the oxygen on. I was just like, why did you do that? Why did you just stop the fight? Why did the corner not stop the fight? You know, the whole point of boxing is dangerous. Like, that kid is 23, he might never be the same again in the ring anyway after that. Why save him for another day? Live to fight another day. That old saying, save him for another day. It's not your night, kid. But you never know. It might be another time. Live to fight another day. But they didn't. I hope he's okay. He seemed to leave, but it was a very, very, very heavy knockdown. And in the main event, we had Denzel Bentley versus Marcus Morrison. And Joe Gallagher did what a corner man should do. Give him praise, Joe Gallagher. What? Did you hit your head, G? No, I give praise where praise is due. Look, Marcus Morrison was getting beaten very badly by Denzel Bentley, who looked rejuvenated in this fight. You know, there was moments against Linus, who he fought in July, where he looked shaky. And there was moments last year, I can't remember who it was, in his comeback fight after the Cash loss, where he looked shaky. But he looked like his old self in this fight. He really looked good, looked devastating, and he beat Marcus Morrison up pretty bad. His eye was bleeding profusely, and he was never going to win this fight. So the referee quite rightly stepped in and stopped it. Now on Saturday, Lyndon Archer, and I'll get it for you here, he fought on a Wasserman show over there on Channel 5, and he fought I'll get his name here. Walter Gabriel Squezas stopped him in 6 rounds. Anthony Yarde, I believe, fought him 4 or 5 years ago, stopped him in 4 rounds. Anthony Yarde is a bigger puncher, but not a particularly good opponent. On the undercard was Troy Williams, getting a win, a 6-round stoppage win over an Argentinian called David Benitez. And it was announced that he is going to fight Josh Kelly sometime either in December or November. Now, me personally, I don't think, if I was training Josh Kelly, I wouldn't take that fight just yet. I think it's still too soon after the Avanesian loss, personally. But I think Troy Williamson has had shaky performances. But him against Kelly, I expect a very, very good Troy Williamson, and I think he's going to deliver the goods. I think he might even stop Josh Kelly, because Josh Kelly, the way he capitulated against Avanesian so quickly, that was a worry. And I can easily see that happening again. So Kelly versus Williamson in December time in Newcastle. I mean, I'll watch it. Definitely. Obviously, the main talking point is Canelo Triple G, and we'll talk about the undercard now in a sec. So Canelo Alvarez fought Triple G. The undercard was Jesse Rodriguez versus Israel Gonzalez. Went the way I expected. I thought Jesse Rodriguez might have a rougher time with Israel Gonzalez. He's still a bit more lively than Rumvasai and Quadras. Now, this scorecard here, 118-108, was a joke. Should never have been that wide. But Bam Rodriguez won. But Gonzalez, he should have been a world champion in 2017. He got horribly robbed against Calify. And I don't use that term loosely, but he was robbed. Daylight robbery against Calify over there in Monaco. Should have been a world champion. Austin Williams, he got a win over Kieran Conway, but I felt he looked very, very predictable, is the best way to describe it. I wasn't too impressed with what I saw in there. I think that if Conway had a bit of pop, he really could have given Austin Williams he could have beaten Austin Williams if he had a bit of pop. Gabe Rosado fought Ali Akhmadayev. Akhmadayev won that fight on points. Rosado needs to call it a day. I think he's seeing well and truly better days now at this stage. And then we talk about Canelo Triple G. Look, I've talked about it a bit. And by the way, I had a stream that I was doing last night. The Wi-Fi went tits up, and it just didn't. Yeah, these things happen. So live stream tonight, Monday at 8 p.m. We will do it part 2. Because I said I'd do it, and I will do it. We will do that live stream tomorrow night, definitely, or tonight, if whatever you're watching this. But Canelo Triple G. Some people have speculated that it was a fixed fight. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say yay or nay to that, but I've seen a lot of people commenting saying they felt this fight was fixed because it was so lackluster. It just seemed like both guys were having a sparring session almost. Nevertheless, look, Canelo got the win. It was not a... Look, your first instinct is usually correct. My first instinct was I don't really want to see this fight, but as it got closer, I kind of warmed into it and said, this might be good. But at the end of the day, your first instinct is usually the correct one. And my instinct was, at the time, I don't really want to see this fight. I'll take it for what it is, but I don't expect an amazing fight. And that's not what we got. We didn't get an amazing fight. I'm glad I didn't pay for it, to be honest, which I really am. But it's done. Canelo has said he's going to take a long rest. Could be May or it could be September. Dimitri Bivol is the likely opponent that Eddie Hearn has been mentioning next. He has one more fight with the Zone. Do you think Canelo will go down that road? I mean, it's always going to be a hard fight against Dimitri Bivol, definitely. And he's already lost once, and I thought he lost clearly. I know the scorecards were close, but it was a clear loss for Canelo in that fight. Does he know that? Does he think, you know what? I don't need this. I need a break. I need maybe an easy fight. Maybe somewhere over there in Saudi and get an absolute rake of cash. And maybe in 2024 I'll make a go of this. I'll be another year older, but at least I'll have a rest. You know, he's been pro for over 15 years, over a decade, and he's been operating at world level since 2010. It's 2022 now. You got to imagine that Father Time is undefeated. I'm not saying Canelo is shot born or anything like that, but maybe the body just needs a rest. It needs a good 2 months of just resting, light exercise, and then maybe see what you want to do in 2023. Maybe that's what you should do rather than consistently just fight, camp. Good opponent, Avni Yildirim. You know, that sort of way. So maybe that's what Canelo needs to do. Maybe that's what he needs to do. In terms of Triple G is saying he's still got 3 belts at middleweight, does he have 3 belts? He's 2 belts. think he's the IBF and WBA. I think Triple G should retire, personally. I think he should call it a day. I think that if he doesn't retire now, someone else will get him at middleweight, and he'll end up with 3 losses. Whereas some would argue maybe he should only have 2 losses or 1 loss. But I definitely think that Triple G should call it a day as well. I think that for me, Triple G, after the Canelo rematch, to me that was when he started showing signs of decline. And I think calling it after the Morena win would have been perfect. Obviously, you're not going to turn down 20 mil, but I think calling it a day after Morena would have been perfect. You would have left on a high note. You could still say leaving against Canelo was on a high note, but I think that Morena, perfect. In terms of some of the news, we'll go backwards through the news. Katie Taylor's next fight will take place 29th of October, Wembley Arena. Isn't that clashing in? Isn't that going to clash in with Hunter versus Fury? That will clash in with Hunter Fury. And no offense to Katie Taylor, but I quite like to see Hunter Fury. I think that's a great fight. I think it's a great fight. I was a bit disappointed. I really did think they'd get Katie Taylor out in Ireland. I thought they'd get her out in the 3 Arena. I really did think they'd do that. Just for the... Look, to get a big show in Ireland, it could do so much for boxing over here. And I'd love to see boxing grow in Ireland. I'd love to see Katie Taylor do a show over here in the 3 Arena. With Amanda Serrano, you might even do Croke Park, or at the very least you do the Aviva, which are the 2 main stadiums in Dublin. So I thought they'd get her over in Ireland, to be fair. I've seen Alexander Usyk mentioning this, that he has declared that he wants to fight Wilder next because Fury may face Anthony Joshua instead. Ooh, interesting. Usyk added that he intends to be ringside against Wilder versus Hellenius. Well now, let's see. How do we think Usyk versus Wilder would go? Me personally, I would definitely favour Deontay Wilder. Not Deontay Wilder. Alexander Usyk quite heavily to beat Deontay Wilder. I think that the movement of Usyk will bother him. I think that if Spilka can outbox you, Alexander Usyk can stop you. Simple as that. The news I have been longing to see, and I hope it's true. Oh, lads, I really, 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 really want this. I really want this. I'm hoping and praying this is true. So, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford reportedly agreed and targeted for November the 19th, provided it gets signed. Welterweight champions said to have agreed all mutual terms, including 2-way rematch clause for undisputed. Yes, lads. Yes. Lads, I can't tell you how... Oh, man. Crawford, Spence. I can't tell you how happy I am. If this fight happens, I will be so happy. November 19th in Las Vegas. Lads. Honestly, like, I would probably... I would rather see this than AJ Fury. I love this fight. I'd rather see this than AJ Wilder. I love, love, love this fight. I cannot believe that we are this close to getting this fight happening. Undisputed at welterweight. I really did think at one stage this fight was never going to happen. And I'm hoping it's not being jinxed or anything like that. But I really so hope that we get this fight. I really, truly do. I really do. I love the fight. I think the styles will gel well together. I think you've got Spence, the body puncher, but he can box as well against Crawford, the master boxer. Man, I really, really hope this fight happens. I really do. I was worried about Spence. I really was. I was worried about him after he pulled out against Pacquiao. I was worried about him with the injuries and the car crash, etc., etc. But it seems to me that he's made a full recovery. He looked very good against Danny Garcia, but there was a few little jitters, there's a few little moments. But then against Yordenis Ugas, tick every box. That was the old Spence as far as I'm concerned. So we have Spence Crawford. And Terence Crawford, you know, my stance on him, I think he's tremendous. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm very happy about this. And I really, really hope that we get to see this fight get made. And it happens. And I genuinely believe, you know, sometimes the build-up outweighs what the fight will be. But I have no doubt in my mind that we'll see a good fight between Spence and Crawford. I really do. Ooh, interesting. Hasim Rahman Jr. will face Victor Belfort on November 19th as well in Texas. Who would you rather watch? Crawford Spence? Hassi Rahman Jr., Victor Beltor. Decisions. So the pay-per-view price for Joseph Parker, Joe Joyce, $19.95, essentially 20 quid. Meh. Not too bad. It's not too bad. So Anthony Joshua on September 16th declared that he has now sent his contract for the Fury fight at the Principality Stadium. Frank Warren declared, we will wait for them to go through and then sign them so we can get one of the biggest fights in history over the line. Frank Warren seemed reasonably adamant that this fight would go ahead, so it does appear that we have a December date locked in, lads. You know, December the 3rd, AJ Fury. It's still a massive fight. Like, I don't want to talk too much about it. I've talked about it to death on this channel, but I will keep you updated as it goes along. If there's any movement on it, whenever, even if I'm in my car having to do it, I will do it. But I still want to see it, even though I kind of think I know the result. I'm not as hyped for that as I am for Crawford Spence, but a part of me still wants to see it. Obviously, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Preference will be undisputed. That is G-Man's preference above all else in any division, undisputed. But AJ Fury just has something. I don't know. I do kind of still want to see it. I do still kind of want to see it. Now, speaking of which, there was pictures of Anthony Yarde and Joshua Buatsi, because they were both at the Frank Warren show on Friday night, which is interesting because during the broadcast, Andy Clark was commentating. He was commentating on the fight, and he made note of the fact that Joshua Buatsi is set to take on Jan Pascal in a final eliminator for the IBF, right? Now, what makes that interesting is that he said that fight is going to take place on BT Sports. So he's implying that the Buatsi versus Pascal fight is a done deal and that it's going to take place on BT Sport. Now, obviously, they're both there with Frank Warren. Now, obviously, I know Buatsi. I think he's still with 258. He's with the Zone, so I can't see him leaving Eddie Hearn. But his next fight will be on BT Sport, allegedly anyway, unless they go a different road. What are your thoughts on that? BT Sport for Buatsi? Could Frank Warren try and really, wine and dine him and make him think, you know what, I prefer it over here. I'll get the fight with Beterbiev. Maybe I'll get the fight with Anthony Yarde. If we both lose to Beterbiev, maybe we can have a fight together. But they were both seen at the event. They were together at the event. It's going to be interesting. Would they not do... look, isn't Yarde mandatory for the WBO? I know probably you'd say, why would you risk it? But if you made if it was paying you more money to fight Buatsi and put your WBO number one challenger status on the line, would you not just do it? If it made you more money? If you're so confident, if Tunde is so confident that Yarde beats all these guys, surely it's a formality. Get a couple of million to fight Buatsi, who you're so much better than. I'm just saying. Shelley Finkel has said that they would welcome a fight with Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder. The other day we got a message that Usyk will let us fight if Anthony Joshua and Fury route goes through. Yeah, we're open to that. We're not opposed to that at all. That's interesting. So Shelley Finkel saying that they're happy for Wilder to fight Alexander Usyk. Would they actually? Is he just saying that, or would they actually do it? Because Wilder, certainly when he was champion, he was one of the most protected champions I have ever seen. They were unwilling to step him up with anyone. So Eubank Jr. posted an Instagram pic there of him at a dinner, eating again. Think he was having cake and everything, trolling Conor Benn. The Eubank situation is an interesting one. I don't know what's going on there. Are they old clips? Could that be from last year? I don't know. Because you'd think if he's serious about this fight, he wouldn't be showing these pics of eating KFC and stuff like that. So I don't know. At the end of the day, we don't have an undercard announced. We're 3 weeks away from this fight. We've one fight on the undercard, Ellie Scotney, but that's it. So we've nothing else going for this fight. And it's a weird one. I'm curious to hear what's going to happen next, to be honest with you. I don't know what's happening with this fight. I really don't. It's bizarre to me. It really is bizarre to me. So I think realistically, oh yeah, I did see as well that Anthony Yard may be out sometime in November just for a run out, just for a little run out. So there is that as well. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it in terms of the boxing news. So before I go, I just want to end this video. I don't know why. I just felt the need to just speak on a few little things. It's not really boxing related, but just to big up the subscribers, and just because it's a weird one, lads, right? It's a weird one. Obviously, you know about me. I do a lot of things outside of here as well. I have my true crime channel, which I'm really enjoying. In fact, actually, this review of the week is going to go out side by side with a true crime video, which I just finished earlier this evening, actually, which I'm very proud of. It was a very good video. I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed recording it. I enjoyed it so much, and I'm looking set to hit 1,000 subs on that channel, hopefully by the end of this week, which is great, because that's 10,000 across 2 channels, which is amazing if you think about it. 10,000 across over 10,000 across 2 channels, which is incredible. It's amazing. And, I don't big up you guys enough, because I do really appreciate all you guys locking in and staying tuned, subscribing. Some of you have been here for a couple of months, couple of weeks, couple of days. Others have been here since the get-go, since I made that crappy Joe Joyce Nick Webb video. That was the first ever one I ever did. It was crazy looking back on those, see how far it's come. And doing this is just so incredible. Like it's I've never really been one to get out. Well, say get out of your comfort zone. I never really was one to get out of the comfort zone. So doing this has really changed me in many ways. It's done a lot for me. I get to go to these events. I won't be going to as many now because I have a project at home that I'm working on, and it's probably going to cost a lot of money, and money that I don't really want to be throwing on going to events if I don't have to. And so I need to be very careful about what events I go to, and price wise I can't just go to them willy-nilly, and I can't just go away willy-nilly as well. I need to think about all that. Cayenne Boot may think I have the bag, but not yet, not quite. But still, like when I look at like what we've done on this channel, like I've been on TalkSport, I've been at events, I've interviewed some great fighters, interviewed Joe Joyce, Rob Tebbert's been on, Ade, made some friends like Chris and Jamie. It's been great. Like it's been an amazing journey, and obviously we're not ending it. It's plenty of miles left in it. I think because about 3 weeks ago I had a really crappy Friday. Really crap one. I normally don't let things get to me, but this really did. If Chris Andre is listening, he'll probably know what it's about. And when you're in a situation where you leave it with more questions than answers, that's kind of what happened. And I was like, not down per se, but I just was like, what the hell is going on? And I neglected the channel, and it suffered for it. It did. And I don't ever want to do that again. I don't ever want to feel like that again. And that whole situation, I'm still kind of not 100% sure what way that's going to go. Deep down, I think I know that it's going to work out, because sometimes you just have to take the road not traveled, and you have to think about things and put it in context. And you have a choice at the end of the day. Do you stay on the motorway with everyone else going 2 miles an hour hoping that something happens, which never does? Or do you turn off and go down that looping back road, which is a bit bizarre, it's going to be a bit crazy, but you're going to see better sights, going to take you to a better journey. If you ever do get lost, you just look up there, the man up there will find a way. That's the kind of way I've had of looking at it, always. And that's the way I think that this is going to go. I really do. I'm not going to give too much away. Chris knows what I'm talking about. But that's the way it's going to go, I think. And yeah, long-winded one, but I just don't want to ever go down that road again of ignoring you guys and not being on here and just looking like I didn't care. That's kind of the way it was. That's not true. I do. I care about people. Even people I never met on here, I appreciate you telling me stories in the comment section. Some of you have recognised me at events. I appreciate that. That meant a lot to me, being recognised by people at events. Not that I'm vain in that regard, but you know what I mean? It's just that people appreciate it, and I appreciate that too. I'm very thankful for it. So long and the short of it, I guess this is a long-winded thank you to all the people who've been there for the last couple of years and the friends on here have made. It's been amazing. It's been amazing, and it's just starting, really, isn't it, people? If you think about it, we're not even at 10k yet. Once we get there, that's when the journey really takes off. And yeah, it's a crazy one. It's a long-winded thank you, isn't it? It's a long-winded thank you, but no, I believe that things happen for a reason, and that's why I'm sitting here talking to you now. And I think that my reason is gonna be good. It's gonna be a good one. Don't know when it's gonna be, but it's gonna be good. And yeah, long-winded thank you to all the people locking in. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all have a great Monday morning. Whatever happens, I hope it's all good. And I hope you have a great week. Hope the sun shines for you wherever you are, and I hope the phone rings with good news for at least somebody, or someone gets good news this week. Someone definitely will. I know they will. Hope you enjoyed it, people. I'll leave it with that. Happy Monday. Talk to you later. Peace.